Today is Monday, August 10th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Violence in Chicago. The mayor, she blames the prosecutor for not prosecuting people previously for looting. The DA, Kim Foxx, says, slow your roll. This ain't on me. We'll talk about that. Also, with a violence interrupters director, also TO, Mr. Ceasefire Heart of It. Republicans are using the fear tactic to redefine the Black Lives Matter movement as a radical leftist mob. Why? They are desperate to scare white people. I'll explain. Back to school during a pandemic, a doctor will be joining us to further discuss how we can promote academic growth while keeping our children safe. Speaking of that, college athletes are saying, hold up. If we come back and play football, it had better be safe. Black men are demanding that Joe Biden pick a black female for vice president. And in Massachusetts, the largest companies in the state had a single black board member. What the hell is this, the 1960s? And what's up with these men angry and upset with the video dropped on Friday from Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion? Y'all were pretty damn quiet when men released sexist language. I'm going to tie that to people questioning by women who are ambitious for president. Yeah, it's all related. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
Hundreds of folks gather at the magnificent Mile, in other parts of downtown Chicago last night, smashing windows, looting stores, confronting police, and at one point exchanging gunfire with officers. More than 100 folks were arrested. 13 officers were injured during the unrest, including a sergeant who was hit by a bottle. A civilian and private security guard were shot and wounded. Now, the mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot, she blames county prosecutor Kim Foxx, saying she should have previously prosecuted to the highest extent of the law the people who were previously involved in looting and rioting in Chicago. Kim Foxx had this reaction.
Good afternoon. It was maybe 9 weeks ago that I drove into the city and saw the heartbreak and the anger that resulted in what we see again today, which are broken windows in this building. The news that I woke up to with widespread looting here downtown and in some of our neighborhoods, that I'm sure I, and like many people, are heartbroken, angry, confused as to how we find ourselves here. And the reality is that as we seek to figure out what is happening in what is truly an unprecedented summer, it requires us to ask tough questions, to do deep deliberation, and to put all hands on deck. All hands on deck means that rather than standing and pointing fingers, we work together.
Now, what all started in Chicago was after cops shot a man allegedly for carrying a gun. That's what set off what took place yesterday. Now, that is totally separate from the continued violence that has happened in Chicago. Over the weekend, 35 people were shot, 3 were killed by Sunday night. This has been going on all summer. You heard Kim Foxx mention that. And in fact, there's a 75% increase in the shootings in Chicago this summer, a 139% increase in murders for July 2020 compared to the same time a year ago. what is happening in the Windy City. Joining us right now is T.O. Mr. Ceasefire Hardiman, Executive Director of the Violence Interrupters. T.O., again, you see on one hand you have the mayor. She's blaming DA Kim Foxx, saying had she prosecuted folks before, then this wouldn't be happening. The Chicago Tribune dropped a story showing how Kim Foxx's office has dismissed more felony cases than her predecessor, Anita Alvarez. What is actually happening in Chicago? What is going on there? How can folks around the country understand really what's taking place?
Hey, thanks, and thanks first and foremost, Roland, for having me on your show. What's going on in Chicago? I'm glad you had me on because I was on the front line yesterday over in Inglewood, where there was a near riot that was about to jump off. Guys like myself, Tyrone Muhammad, a brother named Joseph Williams, Ed Russell, we got a chance to calm the crowd down. The police were out there, and they were going back and forth with the people. The young man got shot by the police. The facts have not been released yet in regards to the shooting yesterday, the young man in Inglewood. But most important, we stopped a potential riot on the front end in the Inglewood community yesterday, right on the front line. Secondly, in Chicago, what's going on right now, let's separate the gun violence from the looting and the rioting right now. The gun violence is at an all-time high, based on my opinion, because the violence is all over the place. You got a lot of interpersonal conflict. Gang violence makes up about 30% of the gun violence in Chicago, but a lot of interpersonal stuff going on. People they're on edge already. COVID-19, I'm not blaming COVID-19, but people are feeling desperate. People are at home all the time. People in the community don't have no outlets hardly. There's nothing really open out here, Roland, and people in the world need to know this. There's nothing for the young people to do. So idle mind brings upon a whole lot of different types of thoughts, okay? Homicides increased 139% during the month of July 2020. Now, when you talk about leadership in Chicago, I believe that we have ineffective leadership. They don't have the ability, in my opinion, to really address this issue of gun violence and reduce the gun violence. On behalf of Violence Interrupters, I'm not just talking about myself, Roland. I work with a lot of people in Chicago. We have mediated 43 conflicts this year on the front end where we stopped somebody from killing another person on the front end. And I've been trying to meet with the mayor for quite some time now, but I stopped trying. My thing is now to just keep doing the work. There's a community that I work in on the west side, the near west side. We've gone 60 days without a shooting. None of the businesses were torn up over in the community that we work in. So gun violence right now, you just had the rapper Duck. He was killed, and they were expecting big-time retaliation after his killing. We've been meeting with both sides, not just me, once again. I have a team of people out there. There's a lot of organizations supporting the cause, and there has not been any retaliation as of today. Let me put it like that. So the looting that just took place in Chicago, and I notice the blame game is kicking off on a higher level now. You cannot just blame Kim Foxx. You know, it's important to have somebody in Chicago that knows the back alleys of Chicago, the concrete jungle here in Chicago. You know, I don't want to just come on and criticize the mayor. That's not what I'm trying to do here. What I would like to say is that I met with Superintendent David Brown. He's new in Chicago. It's going to take some time for him to learn what's going on in Chicago. So right now, there's no need to point fingers, because if you want to point fingers, David Brown doesn't know Chicago. Lori Lightfoot does not know Chicago, okay? If you want to just be technical about it. So right now, we need all hands on deck once again. Kim Foxx is doing the best she can do. She may have made a few missteps like a lot of us do, but there's no time to point fingers. Let's bring it together and really organize these young people to the point where they feel a part of society instead of feeling disenfranchised or ostracized from overall society, Roland.
So, but how do you get it under control when you have, of course, when you have a situation there, young folks being killed? I saw a story last week, a young boy, his mom kept him inside. She didn't let him go outside and play. He never made it home. You have folks who say they feel helpless with what's going on there, what's happening on those streets. You don't have the same, let's just be honest, you don't have the same centralized gang control that you used to have in Chicago, where, like it or not, they were able to actually control violence there. And so you have these offshoots. You have these lone gunmen. You got folks just sort of operating in their own space. And so what is the blueprint to try to get it under control? Because Trump and others are like, send in more cops. That's the answer. Community says it's not the answer, but the community wants to be safe.
Well, you cannot arrest your way out of an epidemic of gun violence, right? It's learned behavior. A lot of guys grew up in the community. This is what they know, okay? My thing is, I would like to make an appeal to anybody listening and watching out here. If, let's say, hypothetically speaking, if the mayor of Chicago appointed T.O. Hardiman like the street superintendent of police, let's hypothetically speaking, I could bring homicides down in Chicago by 70%. God has blessed me with a proven track record. I know how to communicate with my people. I'm talking to my people now. I know how to communicate with them young brothers and sisters out there in the concrete jungle a certain way. But you need somebody with, like, the alpha dog must return to Chicago in order to restore order out here, Roland. The thing is, mental health is at an all-time high. People not receiving no type of funds out here. Just imagine all the people that are unemployed right now. 45% of African-American youth are unemployed in Chicago. We have a big job ahead of us. And instead of pointing fingers, we should organize and unify. And the mayor should be able to reach out to people like me that's not your traditional yes man, somebody that might be able to help the city out, not help her out, but help our good city out right now. So, a lot of people are getting funded to, work to reduce violence. I'm working. I'm not getting the funding I used to receive. And I'm not here just on here talking about funding either. People can fund me if they want to. If they don't, that's fine. But my thing is this here. There are countless agencies that can do the work, Roland, but they're not being called to the table right now. And we need everybody. Now, the overall solution for people in the world to know, my vision for the overall solution, we need about 10,000 African-American men to unify in Chicago for about 1 year straight, hit the streets, mediate all the conflicts with these young brothers on the streets of Chicago, not stand on them and talk against them and talk down to them, but we need young men. We need guerrilla brothers, intellectual brothers, spiritual brothers, and political leaders. We need to descend amongst the community and reach these. Every time I go out in the community, them brothers, they receive me, Roland. And I'm not just talking about myself, there's other brothers too, but the thing about it, we're like unsung heroes to a degree because we're not doing it for glory.
Looks like, go, you froze there.
Right on ground level. People filmed it. Okay? So we stopped the riot yesterday, Brother Roland, so I just want to say we putting in work.
The thing that, to your point there, you say you need 10,000. When I lived in Chicago, I remember same thing. We were dealing with violence there. We had organized an all-black men gathering, took place at the House of Hope. More than 1,000 brothers turned out. But the problem is what you said is that also, look, if you're going to put them out there, look, that's a job. And the reality is the city spends tons of money on police, tons of money on law enforcement. As you're talking, I'm sort of thinking about, of course, the guardian angels who were in New York City. I'm thinking about, other places as well, where you are, yes, putting folks out there who have a relationship. I remember a few years ago, a lot of people didn't realize this, where the Chicago police superintendent met with the Nation of Islam when they were creating these safe passages for kids walking to and from school. What you're dealing with there is you absolutely need all hands on deck. And so is there a present community solution right now? Is there any community role that's being played at the mayor, at the county commissioners, that the police are involved with, or are they trying to figure out on their own?
I think everybody's doing a guessing game right now. For example, Roland, every year, universities are getting $20 to $30 million to do research on what are the root causes of gun violence. Why keep funding research? We already know what the root causes are. The bottom line is when I talk about organizing 10,000 men, I'm saying organize 10,000 men with intent to mediate conflicts, to reach them young brothers on a higher level. Mediate conflicts out there, not just marching, not marching against the young brothers, bringing them to the table of peace and understanding, number one. The solution is a community solution. That's the only thing that's going to work right now. Everybody's talking about defunding the police, right? I'm not a proponent of defunding the police entirely, but I understand the mindset of defunding the police. But right now, the community solution, black men got to get up off the couch right now, Roland. We have to organize and mobilize, and then we need the family members of the shooters out there to become a part of the movement, because family members can reach their own family members, and we back up the family members. If you want to, this is going to take like a whole lot of serious work. It's not going to just be an overnight solution, but I guarantee you we can reduce gun violence by 70% in Chicago if everybody would take a look at my strategy, Roland. And I've also implemented a restorative justice component of my violence interrupter strategy, which includes peace circles and healing circles where we can help some of these young brothers heal from some of the trauma that they've experienced over their lives, because hurt people hurt other people. And we got to be strong out here right now and grab the community, man. We have to grab the community, Roland. The business community, everybody should follow my lead if they really want to reduce the gun violence in Chicago. Now, I may come off as kind of like an angry brother, but I'm not angry. I'm an intellectual brother, okay? I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach restorative justice, criminal justice, the understanding the history of gangs in Chicago. So I work on all levels, but people should really follow my lead here because I have a proven track record, but it's hard to get traction here in the city for whatever reason, Roland, with the mayor anyway.
A year ago, August 2nd, you lost Dr. Carl Bell. He was very instrumental when it came to conflict resolution, when it came to mental health. Of course, his mental health agency eventually shut down, lack of funding. While I was there, he and I talked a lot as well. You got Pastor Corey Brooks there. You've got Reverend James Meeks there, individuals who have large groups of men who belong to their churches. And so have you or anyone else has anyone, and granted, I know we're in the age of COVID, but has anyone called for a mass meeting of black men in Chicago to try to get the mayor and others to see this and accept this idea? And what I'm talking about is, I get your call for it. I'm talking about literally calling those together. And I know House of Hope fits 10,000, and we're now dealing with social distancing. But if that call is put forth and they show up, it's a little hard for Lightfoot to ignore that.
No, the thing is, yes, I work with Pastor Corey Brooks as well. He has a good team over there. As a matter of fact, they're the ones that's really stepping up with this, trying to prevent the retaliation with the guy that was killed, the rapper Dunk, and the guys on the other side. So, yes, Corey Brooks is a great asset. And he has a guy that works with him by the name of James Highsmith. He has a good relationship with all the brothers in that area. So, yes, to answer your question, Roland, we're in the process now dealing with this. This social distancing is kind of hard, but on the west side, I've organized around 5 different tribes. I call the brothers tribes, and we're organizing the first social distance type of peace summit on the west side coming up probably within the next 30 days. And then on the larger level, see, the thing when you organize summits, we're not going to call it a gang summit, it's a peace summit. You have to meet, it's mandatory that you meet with all the young brothers first, get them on board with you in advance. So it takes a little work. So we may have to we don't want to do it overnight, strategize on it for sometime in October. So therefore everybody would know, the reason why they're coming to the summit, because you remember the Million Man March, which was a great thing. They had the Million Man March twice, but when brothers got back to Chicago, the killing continued. We did not stop the killings, in other words. So we have a lot of outside forces right now, Roland, even in the black movement. You got agent provocateurs. You got personal hidden agendas taking place out here. You got people pumping illegal drugs in our community and illegal guns. So when you address this issue straightforward, the way I'm talking, then the real demons will show their face, okay? The real demons will show their faces, Brother Roland. But we're doing okay, but we can work a little harder if we all would just unify.
T.O. Halloran, we surely appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot.
And thank you for the people. Appreciate you all for having me on. And my website is violenceinterrupters.org, and you can follow me on social media.
All right. Thank you so very much. My panel today is Lady McAllister, Director of Western Pennsylvania for Commonwealth Foundation, Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeaver, political analyst, Michael Brown, former Vice Chair, DNC Finance Committee. I'll start with you, Lenny, and that is, it's real simple. I don't care who you are, you cannot deal with violence in communities if you do not have some form of community program or initiative. Your thoughts on what T.O. just laid out?
I mean, we both have been there, Roland, and we know that it obviously takes not just people, but money. I mean, time is money. And as much as people want to volunteer to be on the streets and do what we can for our communities, there's also something to be said about having an ongoing presence there. A lot of this stuff jumps off at night. A lot of this stuff jumps off during school time when kids are truant from school. A lot of this stuff is a long-term perspective type of endeavor. This is not going to be something where you just stop one fight and that's it. These are things that have been going on for generations. It's going to take people that know the work, that know the streets, like Tio was saying. It can't just be somebody that's going to parachute in. I know that Reverend Sharpton tried to come to Chicago and live there for several months and then leave to resolve a problem that people, including the Nation of Islam, Rainbow Push Coalition, and many, many others have been having a hard time resolving over years. This is going to take a long-term initiative. It's going to take some money, and it's going to take a higher level of commitment to get this done, where it's not just, well, black on black crime, take care of it. It's going to take something that the government tries to take a deeper understanding of and not just over-police it, because as we have seen, over-policing is not the answer to eradicating problems that have social ramifications, cultural ramifications, but dare I even say racial ramifications in regards to how we got here and where we're going.
Avis, look, I mean, you have to have a community component. If the community does not trust city officials and police, they're not going to turn anybody in because they're going to fear for their own safety.
That's exactly right. And I just have to echo the sentiments that were just shared. This is not, unfortunately, going to be any sort of great epiphany that people are all of a sudden going to come to and just poof, overnight, things are going to change. This will take years of investment. This will take a multi-pronged approach that's about creating strong economic foundations in communities, about creating strong programs in communities that can provide counseling, that really can support families. It's not going to be sort of like a one-shot cure. This is a multifaceted problem that needs to be attacked from multiple levels, and it is going to take years of commitment, and absolutely it will take years of investment in order to turn this thing around.
Michael.
Well, I want to echo clearly what the good doctor said, and of course what Lenny said as well. And we here in D.C., we had something called Ceasefire, Don't Smoke the Brothers as well. An organization like the previous guest was talking about. I don't know if the organizations are related at all. And what the doctor said is exactly right. We have to have all these wraparound services. However, the linchpin that we've talked about as well is until you deal with the folks that are bringing the guns into our communities. And I'll give you an example. A lot of the young brothers who have weapons do not walk into a gun show and use the gun show loophole to get their weapon. They're getting them out of the trunk of a car or a van that's coming into the neighborhood from another state or downstate. So the ATF has to be part of this. If they're going to go after young brothers with a nickel bag of weed, they need to go after the white Caucasian gun runners that are coming into our cities giving young brothers guns. That is a part of it. That has nothing to do with NRA. That has nothing to do with trying to take somebody's Second Amendment rights. What it is folks that are driving in illegally to sell guns to people. That also needs to be part of the problem.
Well, the issue there, again, what's happening there is it's a multi-faceted issue. So it's not just the issue of guns. It's not just the issue of police, but you got to deal with economics. You got to deal with education. I mean, it's all that combined. But again, I do believe that in order for them to fix what's going on, you have to have a community component. Otherwise, it will never, ever get taken care of. So we certainly hope to see what happens there in Chicago. Folks, as of today, there are more than 5 million confirmed cases of COVID-19 in the United States. 163,000 people have died because of the risk. The majority of large public school districts have chosen to transition to online learning. Some have already returned to in-person classes, and they're seeing an increase in cases of COVID-19. Meanwhile, colleges and universities are consistently altering their plans and opting for online fall semesters. Not only that, college football is now being affected, where they're talking about canceling the football season and moving to, of course, in some cases, football in the fall. That makes sense. You got some players who now have joined together. Those players, they want to create an association. Some of these players say that they want to form that association. Some of them say they want to play, but they want to be safe as well. We heard where the Big Ten was supposedly going to announce they were canceling the fall season. That has not officially been made. So we've heard all kinds of things back and forth. So we're trying to figure out in terms of what is going to happen. What we do know right now is that when it comes to schools, some schools are opening, some are not. Some are going through a hybrid schedule where they're on for 2 days, online for 3 days. It's all over the place. Frankly, folks, we'll know in 2 weeks. Joining us right now is the pediatrician, Dr. Irene Matthew. Dr. Matthew, welcome to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, thanks so much for having me, Roland.
So when you see all of this back and forth, when you see what's going on and people are just absolutely confused, you got parents who are saying, look, what are we supposed to do? I got to work. Kids can't be at home by themselves. This is a huge mess we have.
It is. It absolutely is. And I think you perfectly summed up a lot of the anxieties that I'm seeing every day in my clinic. People just aren't sure what to do. And it doesn't help, as you pointed out, that, every school district, it seems, is doing something different or kind of changing their minds from day to day as the data changes. But, what I tell parents is that there's really no one size fits all. And I try to walk them through a conversation of their child's individual risk, not just the risk of COVID, but also the risk of that child staying home from school, as well as the rest of the community. Children live in families. They've got parents. They sometimes have grandparents or other elders at home that we need to think about. And then the schools themselves have teachers and staff members. So, it's really a multifactorial issue here.
All right. And so you look at the school district in Georgia. They announced what was going on. They announced what was happening in Georgia, where they went back to school. A student took some photos. They suspended the student, reinstated the student. Now that same school district, they're going online learning. I mean, I kept telling people, look, once you get some cases, school ain't going to be in session.
Right. I think that's a really good point. So it's kind of just a question of how long do school districts want to play that kind of catch-up game of trying to figure out where the cases are and try to chase those down before they realize that it's really not possible to fully contain it and are forced to shut down.
Well, right, and that's the thing again. And I keep trying to explain to people that the moment you have somebody test positive and somebody else does it, school's not going to be in session. I mean, it's going to happen. You simply, unless you look at schools in the same way you see what's happened with the NBA, unless you create a bubble, unless you create something, it's not going to work. Then I had the superintendent in Georgia. He goes, well, we can't police students wearing masks. Yes, you do. You police everything else.
Right. I mean, schools have had dress codes certainly since I was in school, much longer than that. So dress codes are certainly enforced. So, I think with younger children, it really is hard because developmentally, it's difficult for a 5-year-old to have a mask that fits them properly and to remember to keep it on the entire day. And so to some extent, this is going to be a sort of moot point for younger children who are just developmentally not able to keep a mask on, to practice social distancing, to not touch their faces. But, for older children, certainly we can enforce it, just like we can enforce every other type of dress code.
And again, I don't understand how hard it is. Kids walking down the hallway, hey, mask on. I don't understand that. That just makes no sense to me. College football. You have these coaches who say they want to play. They're saying, these football players will be safer at the university than we'll be going back to their homes. But here's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with 70-plus players on these major football programs, staff, coaches as well. That's more than 100 people who are going to be in these environments. Again, unless you create a containment system and like this bubble concept like the professional sports are doing, it's not going to work. If for these coaches, here's the thing. The players might be in a contained environment, but the coaches aren't. The personnel aren't. So this whole idea, they're young, they're okay. It's a Major League ball player who is actually out for the year because he had COVID, got through it, but now has a heart issue tied to COVID.
Right. That's such an important point, Roland, because, there has been this myth throughout the entire pandemic that young people are fine, young people are going to be okay. But, we've seen increasingly as we see these young people who have had COVID and survived, that a really astonishing number of them do have chronic heart conditions later. They have evidence of heart damage in some cases similar to people who have had heart attacks. And so I think we need to be really careful about saying young people are going to be just fine. And these are even people who didn't have to go to the hospital, who may have had mild, moderate cases at home. There are people who have psychiatric, neurological, long-term side effects. I mean, the problem is we just don't know enough about this virus to be able to say confidently that young people or people who have mild infections are going to be fine and it's no big deal.
Dr. Irene Matthew, we surely appreciate it. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for having me.
All right, then. Michael, what the hell? I mean, you're in a tough case. Obviously, parents are having to work. They're not trying to have kids at home for the next 5 months or even longer. But unless school districts are truly coming up with proper protocols, you're going to have chaos. That district in Georgia, perfect example. I don't know, and let me just go ahead and put it out here, and I got no problem doing it. It's a bunch of white parents who are acting a fool, who are saying, I'm not sending my kid to school without with the damn mask on, I got freedom. That's a part of this. Now, I know somebody who's saying, yeah, Roland, there's some black people out there. Yeah, but it's a whole different deal. You don't have a lot of black people out here hollering, my freedom, my freedom, my freedom, when we're dying from this at a higher rate than anybody else. And black kids having a lower rate of infection out of black, white, Hispanic. Hispanic, number one, highest rate of infection, they're number one. Whites, two. Black, three. Second highest death rate, black.
Well, like anything else in this world, in America world, frankly, the world, everything's so politicized. And take Georgia, for example. Governor Kemp will pretty much do whatever 45 tells him to do. And if that means opening up the schools, he's going to do it. And until, obviously, except for, obviously, some of the mayors in these cities, county commissioners, that say, wait a minute, I'm not going to do what Governor Kemp tells me to do. Obviously, also in other cities around the country. So depending on where you are, who you support for president, if you support 45 or if you support the vice president, or if you're from an urban area, or if you're from a more of color area, everything depends on where you're from and it's politics. And it's too bad because young people are the ones that are going to be impacted and affected. And then you have 45 running around talking about and telling the world, oh, young people aren't impacted by this disease or by this virus, which isn't true. So you have these parents listening to him. I don't know why we're even spending time listening to him anymore, because he's becoming pretty much irrelevant. But because of that, you have those folks you just described, Roland.
I don't understand how many of these people don't understand what's going on here. I don't. I mean, the reality is this here. Adults obviously are different. Okay? Children are not the same. Elementary school, middle school, high school, they're just simply not. And so it's like a situation. I'm here at work, okay? I'm out here by myself. Y'all are on Skype. Staff in the control room, social distancing. You got a school with 1,000 kids. Ain't gonna be that simple.
You're right. But part of the issue is, too, every single one of those kids, to an administrator, to somebody in the education reform fight, is a dollar sign. Let's just talk about what that is as well. It's less about the freedoms when it comes to rural versus urban. It's more about who's going to get the education fund. There's still money from the CARES Act that's sitting around that people are fighting for when it comes to everything from school choice reform to traditional school districts. We won't even get into the decades-long fight for education funding when it comes to traditional schools, public charter schools, private schools, charters alike. You're taking that and exploding it during a pandemic, and you have this fight for who can get the most funding. Well, if we open up in person, we can then ask for more funding to be infused into this. If we're a private school and we open up, we have a competitive advantage over a public school. A lot of this is politics, and Michael's correct, but a lot of this also is the same political fight that we've been having in regards to education reform for decades, but now the stakes are heightened because people saw some of the failures of the traditional system in the fourth quarter. They're looking for alternatives. The traditional system's trying to hang on to the money that they've had and increase it. And those competitions in regards to traditional school systems are also looking at this as an opportunity to increase their quote-unquote market share. Unfortunately, the kids, as you well know, are caught in the middle of adults fighting all over again.
But the thing here, Avis, is that, to me, this isn't about traditional schools, charters, privates, or whatever. It comes down to health and safety. And it comes down to whether or not you have people who are going to have any level of sense when it comes to establishing protocols. That's what the problem is. Again, to listen to this superintendent go, we can't police them wearing masks. We can't tell them what to do. Then you suspend the kid who took the photos because you got exposed. And now all of a sudden folks test positive, and now you got to quarantine people. I mean, this is This is the problem. And if you're a teacher, you're an administrator, if you're a janitor, if you work in the kitchen, hell, you might have a newborn at home. You're not trying to catch COVID from a kid.
Absolutely. And it was a recent study that said that over 100,000 children have already tested positive for coronavirus in the past 2 weeks. And so to say that children are somehow immune to this disease is just an absolute outright lie. I think what's happening here is, yes, it's political. It has a lot to do with a president who has for months denied and lied around the specific issue and continues to do so to a different extent, but he still does it. It's someone who has also threatened to not fund schools, to pull certain federal funding away from public schools, even though it just accounts for, a relatively small portion of their funding. It's still very significant, particularly for schools that are already underfunded. That becomes an important factor, yes, when people are thinking about being able to maintain their system. But I would also say on the other side of the coin, when we're talking about college football, that to me is all about the money. Now we're talking about a $4 billion industry. A $4 billion industry in which they are willing to, quite frankly, risk the lives of these young men who aren't getting paid, by the way, but making $4 billion for other people for nothing. It is just for their entertainment. That, to me, is just as unconscionable as having young children go to school every day, not only putting their life in safety and danger, because there have been children who have died from this disease, but also putting in danger the life and safety of all of the staff that work in those schools, as well as their parents and their broader communities when they go home.
Well, look, it makes sense that be done. Again, I'm telling y'all right now, school, we get to September. Kids go back, and kids start testing positive. Parents are going to be yanking their kids out of school, and then we're going to have a truly, truly huge problem on our hand. But at the end of the day, what this really lands at is the feet of the idiot in the Oval Office. The Washington Post did a huge takeout this weekend, just showing the utter ineptness, Lenny, of this administration, laying out how Trump, his folks, have been focused more on the politics of this, as opposed to the optics of this versus really the problem. In the month of June, the strategy was, don't focus on coronavirus, let's talk about the economy. You can't talk about the economy unless you deal with COVID-19. And so you still have no national testing plan. Okay, experts say we should be testing 5 million folks a month. We're doing about 800,000. This is leadership. And frankly, this is why, according to polls, you got folks in multiple states who are saying, hey, I'm gonna support Joe Biden because this idiot and his team, they are utterly clueless. And then when you're crapping on your doctors, Birx and Fauci, like Mark Meadows, the chief of staff, knows what the hell he's talking about.
Well, unfortunately, what ended up happening when Donald Trump was elected president in 2016, people were not necessarily voting for leadership. They were looking for a shakeup. They were looking for somebody that was going to make them feel good versus being prepared for instances like this. His was not a vote of leadership. His was a vote against a candidate. Well, the bad news about that is when you have situations like this, somebody that is not necessarily skilled at government, somebody that is generally following the guidelines of let's try to force this through, you have these type of situations. I've said this previously. I even said this about Mitt Romney and other business people on both sides of the aisle. Running a business is not the same as running a government. When you're the head of government, you can't fire citizens. You can't mandate certain things because, as you mentioned previously, people have their freedoms one way or another. So you have to have a certain level of planning, and you have to have a certain type of guidance down the path of whatever process you're working with, whether it's the economic recovery or it's dealing with the pandemic. That's not Donald Trump's strong suit. If you look at some of the things that he has gone throughout his business career, it's evident that that's not his strong suit. So what the campaign ended up doing was, can we pivot towards his strong suit? The problem for the American people is the fact that this is less dealing with the pandemic. This is more dealing with the election in November. And there have been obviously human consequences to that. Now, the flip side to that is you also have seen governors at the state level, both in Republican and Democratic camps, take certain types of moves that, again, might have been more politically motivated then they will have been, let's lean on all different type of experts. The health experts, economic experts. Are there ways to shut down our economy effectively, keep people safe, and make sure we don't have exorbitant and in some instances unnecessary unemployment rates like we have here in Pennsylvania? Could we have made sure we've done some things that keep certain aspects of the economy going versus what we did here in Pennsylvania, shut down sectors and industries that nobody else did? We're finding failures all across the board, but as you well know, as Truman said, the buck stops there in the Oval Office.
Again, what you're just dealing with, you're dealing with sheer madness. What you're dealing with is someone who has no clue whatsoever. This today also was at the White House. Y'all watch this.
97,000 children tested positive for coronavirus in the last 2 weeks in July, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. Does that give you any pause about schools reopening for in-person learning?
Because they may have, as you would call it, a case, it may be a case, but it's also a case where there's a tiny fraction of death, tiny fraction, and they get better very quickly. Yeah, they may have it for a short period of time, but as you know, the seriousness of it in terms of what it leads to is extraordinarily small, very, very much less than 1%.
So do you still believe that children are essentially immune?
Yeah, I think that for the most part they do very well. I mean, they don't get very sick. They don't catch it easily. They don't get very sick. And according to the people that I've spoken to, they don't transport it or transfer it to other people, or certainly not very easily. So, yeah, I think schools have to open. We want to get our economy going. We have incredible numbers despite this. If we could get this going, I think it's a very important thing for the economy to get the schools going, Jonathan.
That right there is about money. And then for him to say they don't pass it on, kids have died.
He's not a doctor and he doesn't play one on TV. He's actually not even a good businessman. He ran 6 businesses into the ground with bankruptcies. And now we see that he is an absolutely horrible president of the United States. He is completely irresponsible. He is incapable of emitting emotion about the human tragedy that we have seen now. Over 160,000 people dead. That is irrevocable. They will never come back. Those families will forever be broken. And many of those would still be alive if he had handled this responsibly from the very beginning. When you have some place like New Zealand, which is just a poster child for wonderful leadership, that has now gone 100 days without one case of coronavirus in that nation, and you compare that to someone who continues to live in La La Land, when 1,000 people plus a day are dying from this, it is absolutely disturbing and despicable. And the fact that he is willing to put your children, like he's literally willing to put the lives of children at risk, it is really ridiculous. There is no way that we should be able to let this man stay in office. And as for me, I know that my child won't be going back. And the sad deal is a lot of people don't have that choice. So there will be a lot of people who will be putting their children in harm's way because they feel like economically they have to.
Also, actually, at the White House today, this happened. There were some shots fired outside of the White House around 6 p.m. And then this happened during the news conference.
Hopefully soon. Excuse me? Hopefully soon.
So this is about 5:55. Actually, I was driving in. Then all of a sudden, the Secret Service began to block off a whole bunch of streets very quickly. So apparently a guy fired shots outside the White House. He apparently was shot and is being detained. And so that's what actually took place at the White House a little bit earlier. And so that's what's going on. Michael, I want you to comment again on what's happening with, again, children and COVID.
For all of us that have been around children or have children, even the simple cold can be. Excuse me. Excuse me. This is actually making my point. Even the simple cold from a child can be transferred to an adult, to a older person that lives in your house. So who knows what he's talking about? He's an idiot. So I have no idea. From my standpoint, and the last thing I want to do is give him advice. But I was walking around the District of Columbia over the weekend, and everyone had masks on. And all those people that had masks on were going to restaurants, doing the best they could, social distancing, buying things at stores, at shops. If he would mandate masks for everyone, period, for the next, 6 months, year, I'm not a doctor, whatever the medical folks say, he could do that and help the economy at the same time. But he doesn't want to do that for obviously the reasons that he thinks that whether masks don't help, whether it's a vanity issue, whether it makes you look weak, whatever it is. To me, you can have your economy opening up. It wouldn't be as fast, but you'll have people out. You'll have people trying to get back to normal and buying things with masks on.
All right, folks, let's go to our next story. With just 84 days left until Election Day and faced with the possibility of political defeat in November, Republicans are turning to an all-too-familiar playbook, stoking the fear of white voters. They're trying to redefine the Black Lives Matter movement as a radical leftist mob looking to sabotage the white suburban lifestyles. Republicans running in swing districts and states are tying their Democratic opponents to Black Lives Matter and their demands to defund police departments. Lenny, look, in the history of America, we have had movements where white politicians have been trying to scare white folks, black folks being the boogeyman. We're seeing the same thing right now. They're saying, oh, they're Marxists. Look at them. The reality is this here. There are people out here who support the concept of Black Lives Matter who haven't even read that plank written by the Black Lives Matter movement. There are people out there who say we support Black Lives Matter, and they're not sitting here saying I'm a Marxist like the three women who came up with the hashtag Black Lives Matter. And so you're seeing them trying to tie what's taking place in Portland, what's happening in Chicago, saying, see, if these people get control, they're going to let these black people just run wild, and you white people, y'all are in trouble.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Trump ads as well. This is Joe Biden's America, and you're not going to have police anymore, and people are not going to respond to 911 calls. You know, you and I have talked about this over the years. I can't stand this. You know, you want the black vote, compete for the black vote. If you want to make the case as to why black voters should not vote for the Democrat Party 95, 96% of the time, make the case for that. Pivot back to HBCUs. Pivot back to what the economy was before a historic pandemic. Do what you want. But this divides our country in a way that whether Donald Trump is president January 2021 or not is going to continue the divisiveness. People forget, and I brought this up in a couple of articles I've written for Red State. You know, people were marching and protesting Trayvon Martin when Barack Obama was the 44th president. They were doing the same with Eric Garner. They were doing the same with Ferguson in 2014. They were doing the same things right here in my hometown of Pittsburgh. So the things that people have been talking about and protesting for and against are not things that are directly tied to Donald Trump as the 45th president. These are things that have been impacting Black America in some instances for decades. So to make it seem as though this is just a BLM dynamic that comes from a Marxist, origin, and it's going to play out in the 2020 election campaign, specifically down that path, is ridiculous. And it's a shame that Republicans have not learned over the years how to talk to black people as if they're fellow Americans, because they are fellow Americans. And this is not a new dynamic that I have seen, and it's not a new feeling that I have in regards to it.
Michael, again, the whole point here is scare white people. Donald Trump's only strategy, how can he scare enough white voters to vote for him?
And I don't know if those ads are necessarily working. I know there was a report, I'm not sure, I'm sure it wasn't on Fox News, it could have been on one of the other cable network shows, where they interviewed some white suburban women and voters and asked them their opinion of these commercials. And they were very disgusted by them. So I don't know if the country is turning for whatever reason, or maybe it's because folks believe in Black Lives Matter, whether they just their own minds have turned the corner. I'm not talking about 45's hardcore traditional supporters and voters, but other folks, it's like they don't like those kind of ads. I don't know if the Willie Horton ad would work today, but clearly 45's folks think they do, because that's what that kind of non-police commercial is all about. It's very Willie Horton-ish. So we'll see if it works. Some folks say it's not working. And I guess we'll see what happens on November 3rd. But he's never, and to Lenny's point, I think that's part of, I think, the frustration for some Republicans that actually really do care about going after the of color or black vote. And why aren't you doing it better? Is because of what Lenny laid out. They're just not that interested. They don't think they're going to vote for him anyway. They're not going to get a lot of votes in these, what they would consider these urban areas. So why should we even try? So if you're not going to try, you're not going to get the vote.
Michael, if I can, I think the difference is everybody saw the George Floyd video. So when Trey Gowdy is calling for criminal charges on Fox News, when you have all these conservatives that were outraged and calling for criminal charges, and then you try to follow up with a typical, scare them into the more conservative, more police-friendly vote like conservatives have done going back to 1988 and Willie Horton, it's just not going to play because people have seen that video and Rodney King and several others, including Laquan McDonald in Chicago. We're at a different point of time because of the cell phone video with some of these police misconduct situations. Heck, when we've seen police beat up on black teenage girls, people have seen enough of that to say, you know what, enough is enough. And then if you try to have those type of ads after that, people are not buying into it like they may have 20, 30 years ago.
Avis.
That's exactly right. If you look at the surveys that have been done around this issue, you have seen a huge shift, specifically in the opinions of white respondents around issues involving Black Lives Matter. Now with over 70% of whites indicating that they are supportive of the movement. And so what's happened with the campaign, with the Trump campaign, is they have become very disjointed with the direction of the public. I know that with the time that I spent literally on the ground in protest in Washington, D.C., it really struck me how multiracial the crowd was. And as I look at other footage of other cities around the nation, I see that as a commonality. I mean, it's just a very different moment. And I think he's just completely tone deaf in trying to ring that same, you're right, Willie Horton-like type of bell in a time that's different and in a time where the population that he's hoping to appeal to, a significant portion of them, not all of them, but a significant portion of them have shifted their paradigm on this issue, and they understand the legitimacy of the movement and exactly why it's needed.
All right, folks, let's talk about politics. Sports and entertainment figures, along with more than 100 other black male leaders, sent an open letter to Joe Biden expressing disgust at the way black women have been unfairly criticized and scrutinized during his vetting process to pick his running mate. He is going to announce the VP pick this week. The letter says, as someone who has said throughout the campaign that VP Joe Biden needs to choose a black woman VP, the urgency for that pick has gone from something that should happen to something that has to happen. It disgusts us that black women are not just being vetted in this VP process, but unfairly criticized and scrutinized. Was Joe Biden ever labeled too ambitious because he ran for president 3 times? Should President Obama not have made him the VP because he had to worry about his loyalty when he clearly had ambition to be president himself? Why does Senator Kamala Harris have to show remorse for questioning Biden's previous stance on integrated busing during a Democratic primary debate? Have Democratic Party leaders, allies, or donors ever required Joe Biden to show remorse for the 1986 or 1988 anti-drug abuse bills, which established mandatory minimum sentencing, and subsequently crack cocaine sentencing disparities, and by its own admission, led to mass incarceration? What about the 1994 crime bill? Let's be clear about the kind of remorse and reckoning that matters in 2020, when the black community is still suffering the consequences for these oppressive measures. So, black women are the only ones required to stay in their place and to show remorse for even questioning their own oppression. For too long, black women have been asked to do everything from rally the troops to risk their lives for the Democratic Party with no acknowledgement, no respect, no visibility, and certainly not enough support. More than 700 black women signed on to a letter demanding a black woman VP, and we black men stand in solidarity with them. Failing to select a black woman in 2020 means you will lose the election. We don't want to choose between the lesser of two evils, and we don't want to vote for the devil we know versus the devil we don't, because we are tired of voting for devils, period. Among those signing, Chris Paul, Sean Diddy Combs, Charlamagne the God, Omar Epps, and a number of others. What do you make of this letter, Avis? Clearly, the pressure is on Joe Biden. He has drawn this thing out. Folks are getting antsy. They're not happy when reports surface about former Senator Chris Dodd, his comments about Kamala Harris. Now they're having to deal with it.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you to the brothers who came together to write and sign that letter. It is so affirming as a Black woman to see such bold and public support of Black women by Black men. I just want to say that is beautiful to see. I'm so happy that they did that. But you're exactly right, and they were exactly right when they pointed out the blatant racism and sexism that was specifically thrown at Black women, and particularly Senator Kamala Harris, with regard to this process. The way that the Biden campaign has carried this out, to be honest, they should be ashamed of themselves. They should be absolutely ashamed of themselves. All of the leaks that have gone out that have been so insulting and so disparaging, it is just no excuse for it. So, you know, I'm just disappointed and, quite frankly, angry that they have dragged the names of these women through the mud, that they have tried to insult them, and that they have insulted them, and in a way that they just didn't have to. You know, I don't even understand why Chris Dodd is still involved with the process, quite frankly. You know, it is insulting that you have people that are in Biden's ear who apparently hold these racist and sexist stereotypes of Black women. I have news for him. We are not the help. We actually have leadership of potential and ability. And if Biden wants to win in November, he needs to choose a Black woman as his vice presidential candidate. Michael?
As you know, as a Biden surrogate, and I agree with most of the things that the good doctor has to say on many of the times we're on your show, Roland. I don't know if I agree completely about being disappointed in discussion. We don't know where those leaks came from. First of all, they're terrible, bad. I do believe if he also should select an African-American woman, that would make the absolute, forget politically, it's the right thing to do. Smartest people ready to be president, because that's really what the role of vice president is, who's ready to be president. And all the women that have been lined up as candidates, potential candidates, to me, would be a better president clearly than 45. So I'm proud, frankly, at what the campaign has done. No campaign in the history of America has done what the Biden campaign has done about laying out women of color to a chance to be vice president of the United States. So I think we should also give credit where credit is due. Has it been a perfect process? No. Could they have done better? Yes. Could they have made the decision quicker? Of course. But I think they're walking down the road. And keep in mind, when the vice president started talking about what he was going to do on the Supreme Court, he clearly made sure it was going to be an African-American woman. Now he's talking about probably going to select an African-American woman for vice president. I agree with the doctor. Things could have been done better. But frankly, this is historical, what Joe Biden is doing, both what he's going to do on the Supreme Court and what he's going to do as his vice president.
But Lanny, here's
the process has been better, yes.
Lenny, I've said for months, Biden ain't got a choice. He has no choice, because here's the deal. Black folks saved his candidacy. Without South Carolina, Biden is DOA.
Get the nomination.
His political career is dead. And here's the deal. One of the biggest criticisms that Black people have had about Democrats is that they want us to be political sharecroppers. They want us to deliver the vote, but they don't want to spend money on Black consultants, on Black pollsters, on Black campaign managers, don't want to spend the money on Black media, don't want to spend the money on boots on the ground when it comes to Black get out the vote efforts. And now it's time for significant positions, then don't get rewarded. Oh, sure, you got a Black president, But what black people are saying is, hey, Joe, without us, player, you ain't even standing right now. It'll be somebody else who is a nominee. And so if he does not pick a sister, Lenny, I'm telling you, he will unleash a level of criticism that he does not want to deal with right now in August with him showing up in key polls. And look, the Biden campaign could be pleased that he's peeling off these white suburban voters and these white older voters and these independents. But I'm telling you right now, I was in a meeting with Reince Priebus at the Republican National Committee in 2016 when they were meeting with the folks at TV One. Tara Walls says in the meeting, there is no group that hates us more than the Republican Party. And they can ill afford to piss off even a fraction of black women going into November.
Well, as the notable exception on this panel, I'm going to remind everybody that the former vice president just went on in the media and said that, unlike, African Americans that are not very diverse, Latinos are diverse. He has a tendency to step in it all the time, and he tried to pander to Latinos by throwing the African American voter once again underneath the bus. And to continue to go down this path, he has a bad track record over decades of offending different minority groups. And I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I think makes people nervous, because this letter came out today, after the comment from over the weekend and after Gretchen Whitmer's name got thrown right back into the news cycle in regards to a possible VP selection. You really want to piss off black women? Let Gretchen Whitmer end up being the VP selection. That's how you have black women who vote 97 to 98% of the time with the Democratic Party. That's how you get them to stay home. And that's how you get 50,000 extra votes in Pennsylvania, 50,000 extra votes in Michigan if you're Donald Trump. People forget all you needed were normal numbers, not necessarily the Obama numbers, but just basically normal numbers, and you don't have Donald Trump as president. And Joe Biden's running this grist once again with his poor history on some of these issues, coupled with stretching this out, coupled with continued recent history of gaffes when it comes to issues of race. The Charlemagne the God interview wasn't even 6 weeks ago. So you have these things lining up back to back to back to back, and people are sick and tired of being taken for granted. Yes, they don't want to vote for Trump per se, but they don't want to continue this path of, okay, Democrats are going to take us for granted once again, and when it's time to do the things that we need for our communities, they take a step back. I remember running 4 years ago, there was a memo out the Democratic congressional candidates saying, do not get too close to the Black Lives Matter movement. Do not even say Black Lives Matter because it might be used against you and you might have to promise too much legislatively should you win. But the very first thing I told my opponent in our debate, I can say Black Lives Matter. Why can't you as a 11-term white congressman? You do not want to have that image going into 2020 and then pick the wrong person or continue to play this game. Biden does not want that because he does not know how to think on his feet in regard to these issues, and that would just be another gaffe after another gaffe that would keep people at home in November.
It's going to come down. I'm trying to tell y'all, it will be absolutely nuts if he doesn't pick a black woman. That's some smoke he does not want. He does not want it. So I want to do this here, though. And I know some of y'all might be sitting at home saying, how can you link these two? But I have to link these two. And that is, we've heard all of this drama about the ambition of Senator Kamala Harris. And is she ambitious? Yes. There's a whole bunch of male politicians who are just as ambitious. Y'all remember Beto O'Rourke? Lost. First of all, a congressman from Texas who I had never heard of. And I'm from Texas. I had never heard of Beto O'Rourke. I didn't. He in El Paso, he might as well be from California. That's so far away from damn Houston. But he runs against Ted Cruz. Loses. Small margin. He says he was built to run for president. He was made for this. Really? Ran, didn't survive, dropped out. I can go I remember the guy who ran out of Montana. Bullard, I think. Bullock. I don't know what the hell his name is. Governor of Montana. That shows you he didn't poll at all. I can't remember his name. His wife gave an interview where she said the only way we're moving to Washington, D.C. is if he's president. All right, boo, guess y'all ain't moving. He dropped out. Now he's running for the United States Senate. So men, especially white men, have openly expressed their ambition. No problem. No issues whatsoever. And all of a sudden, when it's women, Senator Elizabeth Warren, Senator Kamala Harris, and on and on and on, how dare they? See, men were so offended. I told y'all the story when I was in a Chicago bar in 2016, and this white guy said, you know, he recognized who I was, and he couldn't vote for Trump, and he's like, I just can't vote for Hillary. And I said, well, fine, get a sheet of paper out and write down the 10 issues you care about, put a check next to Trump and a check next to Clinton. Who agrees with you on that? And there was 7 checks next to Hillary Clinton, 7 out of 10. He goes, I just can't vote for her. Yes, Hillary Clinton had to deal with sexism and misogyny when she ran for president. We've seen it. We saw it when Jordi Ferraro was VP. We saw it when Palin was on the ticket. This double standard, what women not supposed to do. They can't do those things. On Friday, Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B dropped the video. WAP, some say WAP, whatever you want to call it. And all these men that's losing their minds. First of all, the conservative men, oh my God, they just lost it. They didn't know what to do. Some dude running for Congress, I mean, he was just trashing them, how he accidentally saw the video. I don't know how in the hell you accidentally saw the video on YouTube. But then you got conservative Ben Shapiro, okay, who was sitting here running his mouth on his show. Y'all, let me play for y'all what this fool had to say. Watch this.
Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word. Make that pullout game weak. Yeah, you effin' with some wet ass P-word. P-word is female genitalia. Bring a bucket and a mop for this wet ass P-word. Give me everything you got for this wet ass P-word. Beat it up, N-word. Catch a charge. Extra large and extra hard. Put this P-word right in your face. Swipe your nose like a credit card.
Poor little Ben. He was just so offended, just so upset with those particular lyrics. CeeLo Green also has something to say. In an interview, he said, which I found to be quite interesting because I was like, really, CeeLo? You're weighing in on this? This is what he said. We are adults. There should be a time and a place for adult content. As adults and artists, we should at least attempt to be each other's accountability partners in some regard. He went on to say the stereotypes that are celebrated and perpetuated ultimately make the perception a reality. It is disenfranchising and it has caused a great deal of problems. He later said, you have the heads of state like Nicki Minaj or someone who is up there in accolades, success, visibility, a platform to influence. Nicki could be effective in so many other constructive ways, but it feels desperate. This is what CeeLo also added. Attention is also a drug, and competition is around. Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, they are all more or less doing similar salacious gesturing to kind of get into position. I get it. The independent woman and being in control, the divine femininity and sexual expression. I get it all, but it comes at what cost? Here's what I find to be interesting about all of these men who got something to say about a video where 2 women are openly saying what they want and how they want it and how it makes them feel. Oh my God, what should we do? See, here's the problem in this country. Just like when it comes to women having ambition, America says, no, you women, you cannot talk about sex that way. You cannot say those things. You bet not sing those lyrics. How dare you? So let me ask y'all a question. Where was Ben Shapiro? And where was CeeLo? And where were all these other men? Can y'all please tell me, where were all these men when Chopper and Master P did Chopper Style? Where were they when Tupac did the song How Do You Want It? How about Tupac and Casey and JoJo? Thuggin' You, Thuggin' Me. Oh, y'all seen that video, huh? Yeah. See, folks talk about how y'all know him play the Nicki Minaj making the Stallion video. Oh my God, this video is it's so sexual. I mean, it's what's going on? Are you serious? This is a G-rated video compared to the Tupac, KC, and JoJo video, Thuggin' You, Thuggin' Me. Did I hear any men whining about Tigger's Make It Nasty? Tyrone Briggs, Where Are You Out? DJ Fleek's Bend. Luke's I Wanna Rock. PD Pablo's Freak a Leak. Yin Yang Twins and Lil Jon, Salt Shaker. Order Movie Shake. T-Pain, Make That Shit Work. Lil Jon and the East Side Boys, Get Low. Mystical, Shake Your Ass. Ludacris, What's Your Fantasy? Ray J, Sexy Can I? Yin Yang Twins, Wait, also known as The Dirty Song. How about Mystical and Trombone Shorty, That Woman Dirty? Ludacris, Moneymaker. Esther Dean and Chris Brown, Drop It Low. Prince, Sexy MF. Vanity 6, Nasty Girl. Prince, Erotic City. P Control. Genuine Pony. Shall I go on? Sure. Usher, I Don't Mind. Juicy J, Twerk. Kelly's Milkshake. Tigger, Rack City. Travis Porter, Make It Rain. Let me go on. Shall we? Too Short, Blow the Whistle. Love Rants, Up, featuring 50 Cent. Ludacris, P Poppin'. Same P as in this song. Big Sean, Dance Ass. French Montana, Pop That, featuring Rick Ross. Oh, let me go on. Fat Joe and Lil Wayne, Make It Rain. Usher with Nicki Minaj, Lil Freak. Am I done? Off the Record, Booty Work. Robin Thicke, Shake It for Daddy. What you think he's saying, shake it? Huh? Matter of fact, if y'all want to listen to a sex song, listen to CeeLo's Love Gun. Oh, my bad. My bad. Nelly, Tip Drill. Prince, Head. Montel Jordan, Let's Ride. Digital Underground, Freaks of the Industry. Silk, Freak Me. Prince, Cream. Oh, y'all think I'm done? No, I ain't done. 2 Live Crew. All men, pop that coochie. You need D in your life. Throw that D. Shall I go on? Huh? Shall I go on? Juvenile, Slow Motion. What do you think he's talking about? Lathan Grady, Freak It. Ludacris, Sex Room. Ludacris, What Them Girls Like. Ludacris, Nasty Girl. Ludacris, My Chick Bad. In fact, Ludacris did an entire album called Battle of the Sexes. We got all kinds of hip-hop songs. All kinds. Where men are talking about sex, their body parts, how they like it, lick this, do this, drop that, hop on this, lay on that, but y'all ain't say a damn thing. But all of a sudden, 2 women drop a song, making it clear what they like, and all of a sudden, folks are just losing their mind. Oh no, I know. I got some older viewers out there. all these young kids. Look, don't y'all start. Let me take y'all back to a CD that I came across. And these are songs from the 1940s and 50s. There's a song called Big 10-Inch Record by Moose Jackson with Tiny Bradshaw. Dinah Washington did a song called Big Long Sliding Thing. Roy Brown did a song called Butcher Pete. The Swallows did a song called It Ain't the Meat. The Dominoes did a song called 60-Minute Man. The Sultans did a song called Lemon Squeezing Daddy. Wynonie Harris did a song called Keep On Churning. Dinah Washington, Long John Blues. Julia Lee and her boyfriends, the song is called My Man Stands Out. The Toppers did a song called Let Me Bang Your Box. See, during the 40s, black artists had to get real creative in making music as they talked about sex. Yeah, matter of fact, hold on. That was a song that Jackie Wilson did with Laverne. Just give me a second. I'm going to find it. Jackie Wilson did a song, and it's got an X on it because it's the X-rated version. You Better Think Twice. Is that it? That the song? Yeah, Think Twice. There are two versions of Think Twice. There's a one Jackie did called Think Twice. There's the one Jackie did with Laverne Baker, called Think Twice version X. That was recorded in the late 1950s. So why am I laying all this out? Sex has always been in music. Sex has always been discussed in music. Didn't the Rolling Stones do a song called, was it Brown Sugar?
Brown Sugar.
What y'all think brown sugar about? That ain't brown sugar that's in your pantry. See, the real issue that we have here is that in this society, we have a double standard. I don't know if many of y'all saw that television show that Sanaa Lathan did on Fox. I think it was called 12 Shots. I'll come up with it for a second. And in that opening scene, she had sex with a dude and she was like, okay, I'm done, we out. Her character didn't give a damn. Her character was like, if I want to sleep with a man after meeting him in a bar, I'm cool, then I'm out. Oh my God, what are you doing? How many movies have y'all seen or TV shows where a male police officer was a player, slept with anybody he wanted to sleep with, and it wasn't no thought? Hell, that's the whole basis of Shaft. America loves misogyny. America loves sexism. America loves to have contempt for women who choose to speak freely about their bodies and about sex, and then call them out and dog them out when men been doing it for a long time. Now look, here's the deal. If you don't like how graphic Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B is, that's fine. If you fine, that's fine. But don't play no games if you listen to sexually charged music from men and now all of a sudden you got a problem when women are singing it. Don't all of a sudden have a problem when women are talking about how they want it, the way they want it, and the way it makes them feel. But you ain't say a damn thing when all those male artists, and it's a long list of male artists who've been doing the exact same thing. And lastly, Don't play this game when it comes to your daughters and your sons. And black folks, y'all know what I'm talking about too. Y'all know how we sit here. Oh yeah, check him out, man. He got all the girls calling the house. What? Who are all these guys calling the house for her? Don't you be a hoe. I'm sorry, wait a minute. So we celebrate when that guy or that young boy has multiple girls calling the house or DMing him or texting him. But over here, our son, oh man, he a player. But our daughter, she a hoe. That's what we call double standard. So that double standard now is played out in every other area. It even plays itself out when a woman rises to become mayor or governor or senator and wants to be vice president or president. And then they say, no, you can't do like them. No, we're going to hold you to a different standard. No, same damn standard. Same one. Going to a break. I'll be back on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support Roland Martin Unfiltered. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Look at my panel. I want to talk about that whole deal. Avis, again, this double standard, these games that we play, and you got to call it out because what it does is if you don't, this thing sort of continues with how we sort of view women and say, well, no, you can't do that, but you're a dude. Oh, no, you can't do that. That's what we're dealing with here. Now, I know somebody was like, I can't believe you're going to put VP candidates in the same breath as Megan Thee Stallion and Cardi B, but it all is in the same bucket of how we look at and treat women differently than men, and hell, how white folks look at black people differently than them. Because I remember I was told, you wear your ambition on your sleeve. I was like, but the white boy do too.
Yeah. It is absolutely true. That is a double standard. It is sexist. I think that CeeLo Green in particular is rather rich. I mean, wasn't he convicted of rape at some point? I mean, we're not talking about a video now. We're talking about real life.
He took a plea deal for putting for putting something in a woman's drink. But I'll find it. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So he was trying to do a Cosby. I got it. Okay. So interesting that it comes from him. But as you mentioned, it's not just him. It is a double standard. It is a reality. We do hold women to very different standards around the spectrum of life. You're exactly right. As it comes to sort of entertainers, all the way up to vice presidential candidates. Women are apparently supposed to be seen and not heard. They're apparently not supposed to have ambition. They're apparently not supposed to be able to outwardly express their desires, but men are supposed to be able to do all of those things and more. And it's wrong, and it needs to be eliminated. That is not what we would have if we had a more fair and just cultural tradition, not only in this nation, but throughout the world.
And Lenny, and here's the deal. What I mentioned, the song by Kellis. I also mentioned there were some other songs that women had done, again, where people had issues with the song "Put It in Your Mouth" by Akinele. "My Neck, My Back" is another song that folks had issues with. So I mentioned by Kia. I mentioned all of them together. But that's the thing that, again, it rubs me the wrong damn way when I'm reading these comments and I'm going, really? Like, y'all got something to say? And y'all ain't say nothing about all this over here. And then when I'm reading over the weekend, all the crap when it comes to the VP, this person, that person, when I'm like, all these men, hell, you were ambitious? Ambitious is when you can be the mayor of a town that's less than 150,000 and you think you can be president. Mayor Pete? Come on, dog.
You're right, and it's funny because a lot of these folks, let's just be real, these are people that are close to my age that have daughters now, and they're regretting how they treated women when they were their daughter's age. But then, you know, back in the early 90s, we're sitting there with a group called TLC singing a song called Ain't Too Proud to Beg, and other type of songs like that. When it's you having that quote unquote fun, it's okay because you're doing things and that's your quote unquote dirt when you were young. But when you get a little older, you start feeling guilt. The truth is, it's the same standard. Either you have the standard or you don't. Look, the song with those two didn't bother me that much. Doesn't mean I'll necessarily listen to the song, but it is what it is. It's entertainment. It's people expressing themselves. I grew up a Prince fan. I'm the last person that should be judging anybody on any type of song like that. I've been listening to that stuff since the early 1980s. I'm only born in 72, which tells you how young I was when I first discovered Prince. So there's a lot of people that could say that about the Beatles, that could say that about Elvis Presley, that could say that about Chuck Berry, that could say that about Little Richard. We can do this, as you pointed out, Roland, for a while, but it does go to something deeper, which is this. We have never truly solved the riddle of how do we truly have a gender equal society. I think that our generation has been a lot better at it. I can care less if a woman's president of the United States or running the local bank or running the school or anything else, because intellect is intellect. Talent is talent. A leader can be a man or a woman, can be black, white, Indian American, Latino American, anything else. I think our generation is better at that. But unfortunately, we find ourselves receding from time to time, and we've done it with issues with African Americans. We've done it with Latino Americans. And unfortunately, there are times we do it with women. And the really tragic thing is the fact that men can get around their male identity and still project against women in a way that is archaic and unnecessary. And we use instances such as the video to justify every other instance that it plays out in our society.
No, come on. Here's my whole deal, Michael. And this is where older black folks got to shut up. That's why I read all them damn songs. I don't want to hear all that bullshit when you listen to Marvin Cease Candy Liquor. I don't want to hear it when you listen to Clarence Carter stroking. I don't want to hear none of that. Look, listen to Prince's song, Let's Work. He ain't talking about going to work.
Let's just say nothing bad about Prince, okay? Nobody's going to say
no,
nothing bad about Prince.
It ain't saying nothing bad. It's being real. Prince saying Let's Work, he was not talking about a 9 to 5. But again, though, I mean, but the fact that people, again, what we're dealing with, Michael, it's how dare two women, bold-faced, in your face, produce a sexual video and ain't a man anywhere in it talking about what they like. Oh my God, what is this going to mean for all the girls? Man, sit y'all ass down. Michael, go ahead.
Hold on, Roland. Let me say
hold on, Lenny. Michael, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But first I have to co-sign on defending Prince, so we're all on that page.
I know.
But I will say,
I got less work on the phone. I know this. I'm just simply stating. I'm simply stating that the people who are so judgmental act like they don't have it in their music list.
No, I'm with you. And by the way, I've heard a lot of your editorials. That was one of your best, by the way. Congrats. Great job. That was really, really good. You're right. I don't know how it changes these society norms, why we think the way we think. Certainly not a psychologist. Why society rules say this is how it's supposed to be. But it certainly helps when the glass ceiling is broken. When you do have people sitting across the table from you that can determine whether you're going to get your home loan, that determine whether you're going to get your car, determine what your city policies and laws are going to be, or your state. And so it does matter when the glass ceiling can get broken. And so the more, whether it's people of color, whether it's women, that are breaking through that ceiling and are in authoritative positions of power, that's when society rules will change a little bit. For example, I forget what, there was some, I wish I could, I can't remember, so I'm not going to try. There was a situation where a man was applying for a job, And they had two different scenarios. One was the person who was interviewing him was a man. And the two men were talking about the job, and a woman walks by the room. I guess supposed to be an attractive woman. And of course, they make a comment. Not of course, they made a comment for this particular story. Then it was a man being interviewed by a woman. Woman walks by, nobody said anything. Quiet, respectful, nothing. So it actually does matter when you can break that ceiling, put people that are different from white males into positions of power.
Can I
Lenny, go ahead.
Because people are overlooking this. It hasn't been brought up very much. These were two black women over the weekend that this whole video controversy came up about. You know, I wrote down 3 women that don't look like them that made an awful lot of money sexualizing themselves. Miley Cyrus, Britney Spears, and dare I say a woman that became darn near a billionaire, Madonna. So she literally Madonna has been doing this since the early 1980s, went around grinding
Kim
for the Super Bowl.
Kardashian, her ass, all the money, all them making,
there.
and we know her because she made a sex video with Ray J. Man, come on, dog, these folk.
Some of this has to do with race.
It's black female sexuality.
But it's also black female sexuality. And that's part of where this is going as well, because even when you go into the femininity of it all, there's a separation between what is expected for black women and the stereotypes that people are so willing, even black men, to go into immediately when these things come up versus the quote unquote benefit of the doubt, the businesswoman that women that are not black women get from time to time. And that is part of this whole dynamic as well.
And see, Avis, here's the deal. I need these brothers and sisters who are watching, who are also saying to me, man, I had some fools say, we got more important stuff to talk about. No, we don't. Because what I'm describing right now is also the difference between women being locked out of the Black freedom movement. The difference between women being the backbone of the Black Panther Party and then being subjugated to sexism by male leadership. Mm-hmm. What I'm talking about here is an American, really a worldly dynamic where folks want to say men can do all of these things, but women, how dare you? All them Saudi princes, super religious. We know about the freak stories. We know what happened when they come to America and other places. Yeah, they ain't sitting here talking about Allah then and talking about religion. It's how our societies have created structures that then place different levels and different things on men and women, which the point Michael was bringing up plays into, we're going to pay you more because you're a man and you have a family, and we're going to pay you less because you're a single woman because it's just you. Damn that, pay me the same because it's all about skill set. This is all in the same bucket, Avis.
It is all in the same bucket. But if you just look at hip hop, for example, I am of what I believe the best era in hip hop, like the 80s. I came up with the Public Enemies of the world, the KRS-Ones of the world. And I remember the specific shift in hip hop when NWA came about and how that shifted the whole timbre of what that genre was about. With the 2 Live Crews of the world, right? And so we had at least a decade, if not more, after that shift, where you had, in essence, hip-hop that was all around Black women being strippers. Let's just be real. That was the entire focus of the genre. Between that and F the Police, that's all that hip-hop was really about for a good more than a decade, maybe even 2 decades. And, we've seen that shift, right? There was a Queen Latifah, but now we've seen a shift in hip hop. And I saw a little video by Cardi B the other day. It was just like she was doing, maybe it was an Instagram live video of her, where she was saying that, she's tried to produce songs that were less sexual in nature and that they weren't as accepted by people. They weren't hits. People didn't buy it. And it's unfortunate to me.
But she don't have to do less sexual songs.
But I'm just saying,
Ludacris.
as an example, what she is saying is that the public will not buy it.
But
She's saying that she is producing what the public is demanding.
But here's the other deal, Avis. I don't even care. Here's the deal. Ludacris. You listen to Luda, y'all, it's sex all the way through. But again, though, what I'm trying to say is this society has says you one of the best out there ever, Luda, and you get to rap about sex. You got a whole song called Sex Room, all that. But the nonsense CeeLo said, well, she could be, Nicki and Cardi could be far more constructive, with what they do. Man, sit your ass down, dog. That's my problem. Again, if you say, I'm not going to buy Cardi B music, I'm fine with that. But what I'm not going to say is he's fine with sexual music. Trey Songz is fine. Neighbors going to know my name. But if she sings, neighbors going to know my name. Oh, she a hoe. Why is she singing that music? That's my problem.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it is a fine example of a double standard. This sort of rapping, singing, all that, and very explicit lyrics has made people millionaires, has produced billions of dollars in the music industry. Absolutely. And so when you see what's happening here and the backlash, it is, to an extent, I believe exactly right, that it is about these women having assertive power over their sexuality and being able to produce a video, as you mentioned, it doesn't even have a man involved at all. To me, what's really interesting is the biggest blowback that I have noticed, aside from these folks with their little commentary, is the whole Kylie Jenner blowback in terms of why the heck is she in the video at all, right? But what's really interesting to me is that you're exactly right. It's just another example of hypocrisy that is oftentimes sexism, where men are, in essence, praised for their sexual conquests, but women are disparaged even just for talking about sex in an entertainment medium.
Hey, look, do you? If the public say we don't want it, fine, then you're going to change what you do. But it's not going to be this little double standard that exists there. It's just not going to happen. Y'all, I got to talk about this story here. I want to get your thoughts. Massachusetts, biggest companies do not have a single black board member. The biggest public companies in that state, not one black board member. Black folks make up 7% of the Massachusetts population, 12% of the United States underrepresented. Boards are now under pressure to nominate black directors. Some of Massachusetts' most prominent companies without a black board member include BJ's Wholesale Club, Dunkin' Brands, HubSpot, State Street, TJX Companies, and Wayfair. And our companies have given all kinds of reasons why their boards aren't more diverse. The top two reasons have been that the turnover is slow and they can't find enough qualified candidates. That's a damn lie. Why? Because folks like John Rogers have an entire initiative, Michael, for black board members. That ain't gonna fly. But here's the other piece. This is where, and I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I ain't got a problem saying it. I'm gonna call him too. I need Deval Patrick to say something. I need Deval Patrick. Now he should have done it when he was governor. I need Deval to do what Maynard Jackson did when he said, "Y'all public, guess what? No black board members. We're not gonna do business with you as a city." That's what Massachusetts should be doing. That's what the mayor of Boston should say. That's what the governor should say. State legislature, y'all can't find no black board members. We will not do business with you in this state.
And Congresswoman Prez Lee, too, who I'm a big fan of. I went to school in Boston and, wonderful city. But I never, ever thought about ever living there after college and after law school because there's never a sense of a black power structure base. And I know there is, and I know a lot of people a lot of my friends from Boston are going to text me later and say,
they'll get over it. They'll get over it.
But there are some, I'm not suggesting there are none, but it's not like, other cities, major cities in the country. So that spreads to those companies. And then they say, well, you know what? We can't find a board member, a diverse board member, so we just keep it moving to our friends. And until folks are held to account, like with anything else, like you mentioned, the initiative that John Rogers of Aerial Management does, Aerial Capital in Chicago, until they could have called him and said, hey, send us a couple candidates. But they chose not to. These are decisions that companies make till they're held to account. It's going to continue.
Lenny.
I mean, these are the ways that Black lives truly matter. You have to have Black leadership. And I remember when I was still living in Chicago, when I went on a trip with Reverend Jackson, and that was one of the things he actually brought up. People thought that he was talking about jobs on the lower end, and he's in these board meetings saying, nobody around this table looks like me, and I came here last year and brought this up, and nobody looked like me, and I came here 2 years ago, and nobody looked like me. These are things that when you start seeing progress, those are the things that you should be seeing. How do you get more diversity in leadership so that you are able to bring about first a sense of social justice, but even from an economic standpoint, if you're Dunkin' brand and you know that you sell an awful lot of coffee and donuts across the country, why wouldn't you want to have people towards the top of leadership knowing how to better serve communities where you can increase your market share? It's good business sense to be more diverse in a country of 330 million people. Unfortunately, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, too many people want to focus on what's going on in the streets and don't realize that when you're talking about systemic racism, you're also talking about the boardrooms. You're also talking about business ownership. You're also talking about the decision makers necessary to bring about the change. And if they're not diverse, that change is going to be slow, painful, or not coming at all. And they need to have some type of pressure points applied to them quickly to start showing that there's an error in their ways, and there are ways to remedy this in a proper sense.
Avis.
Absolutely. And I would be curious to know if they did actually put out a statement saying that Black Lives Matter, because, for a minute there were so many corporations that sort of jumped on the bandwagon, at least with talking the talk. But there's a difference between talking the talk and walking the walk. There's really no excuse for not having a Black board member in 2020. You cannot say that you can't find any. You cannot say that Black people don't exist. It is intentional. I would go as far to say that this is intentional. If you really want to exactly be able to shift your business in a way such that you will be able to continue to grow, given the changing demographics of this nation, and exactly what Lenny said, given how many Black people and Black communities that your business is located in, it really makes no sense that there is not Black representation. So my question is, why isn't there? The answer is because they don't want it to be.
All right, folks. All right, a new round of anti-Trump ads. Man, hitting him hard. Roll it.
We've all heard Trump bash China.
We have been ripped off by China. 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 Chinese virus. I don't blame China for taking advantage of us.
But when Donald Trump had his own clothing line at Macy's, did he make the clothes here in the USA?
These are beautiful ties.
They are great ties.
The ties are made in where? China? Ties are made in China.
Surely Mr. America kept those manufacturing jobs in America.
You buy that at Macy's.
Oh, it's just another lie. Donald Trump hugs the flag, but his clothing line is made in China. You're not one of the stupid people that keeps believing Trump's lies. Or are you?
I want to talk to the Trump supporters for a minute. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office.
You've been a damn good president. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you more than anything else for putting up with the never-ending bullshit you have to go through.
He's a jackass. Every time I turn around, I'm being asked about Donald Trump saying one dumb thing after another, and I'm tired of it. President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and then some. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. No, I don't think he's a xenophobic, race-baiting, religious bigot. I've never known an impeachment trial without a witness. That's frankly not fair. I am clearly made up my mind, so I don't need any witnesses. Yeah, well, boo yourself. Trump's the best golfer. So I don't give a shit. Over our dead bodies.
If you don't like what a politician's doing, fire them at the ballot box.
It's this guy, Lindsey Graham. He's one of the dumbest human beings I've ever seen.
The Lindsay Must Go PAC, or LMG PAC, is responsible for the content of this communication.
A foreign nation is targeting U.S. soldiers, and there has been nothing from the president.
U.S. intelligence found that Russians offered a bounty if Taliban terrorists killed U.S. and British troops in Afghanistan.
The information was presented to President Trump back in February. Neither the president nor his spokesperson has said whether Russia will pay a price.
My dad was in the Navy. My uncle was in the Navy. My grandfather was in Korea. And now my son is in the Missouri National Guard. It's hard for a mom to stomach her son or daughter or any relative going to serve under this administration. There is no leadership.
You had a phone call with Vladimir Putin on July 23rd. Did you bring up this issue?
No, that was a phone call to discuss other things.
It's horrifying for family members to have lost people in Afghanistan and now wonder if their sons or their husbands or their brothers were killed because of bounties, and that the United States looked the other way. Trump seems to be Putin's ally, and Putin is not an ally to our nation or to our servicemen.
President Trump called reports of a Russian bounty on American troops in Afghanistan a hoax.
Trump is a disaster for our military. Trump has been a disaster for this country.
Black and Latino teenagers who were convicted, even though none of them did it.
Vindication for the group known as the Central Park Five.
Donald Trump took out full-page ads calling for the death penalty.
Donald Trump! Donald Trump! You can't hide! You can't hide!
The Department of Justice in 1973 charged Donald Trump and his father with discriminating against African Americans.
Donald Trump said, quote, "Black guys counting my money? I hate it."
A well-educated black has a tremendous advantage over a well-educated white.
If he wasn't born in this country, which is a real possibility, then he has pulled one of the great cons in the history of politics.
A show of support from the KKK's official newspaper.
We're going to fulfill the promises of Donald Trump.
President Trump is ordering federal protection for Confederate monuments.
Look at my African American over here.
The other man Donald Trump called my African American says that he is leaving the GOP, can't support the president anymore.
Get that son of a bitch off the field right now. Maxine Waters, a seriously low IQ person. MAGA loves black people.
President Trump retweeted a video showing a supporter making a racist statement.
White power!
Have you heard him use the N-word?
Yeah, it wasn't unusual.
The coronavirus. This is their new hoax.
Counties that are majority black have 3 times the rate of infections, 6 times the rate of deaths.
African Americans bear the brunt of the economic downturn brought on by the coronavirus.
Why are African Americans still dying at the hands of law enforcement in this country?
And so are white people. So are white people.
Congressman John Lewis has died, a hero of the civil rights movement.
How do you think history will remember John Lewis?
I don't know.
Do you find him impressive?
I gotta admit, Lenny, that damn Lindsey Graham ad, that sucker should just be on a loop in South Carolina with Jamie Harrison facing him.
That is a very powerful ad. And the Lincoln Project has been doing some very stinging ads as well. You know, the truth of the matter is when it comes to Donald Trump going into 2020, I should say, is the fact that he has said so many things because he used it in 2016 to get the attention, to get free media attention, to bolster his primary candidacy in order to get to the general election and get to the presidency, that it's all fodder when you're the incumbent. These are things that general politicians can't stand doing. Now, Lindsey Graham got into the gutter and made his deal the way he did after 2016, and it's all playing back on him. A race that should not be competitive in South Carolina has become competitive because of this. But you're going to see more of these stinging type of ads where you're going to see the duplicity of comments coming out as it's playing against the foil of a pandemic, as it's playing against the racial tensions that are going on, as it's playing against the economic tensions that are going on right now. And again, when you have somebody that's not a politician, it's very easy for these things to be matched up together and put into a 30-second, 60-second, 120-second ad and be effective online or on television.
Avis, when you have those mothers of members of the military doing those ads, nothing speaks more powerful than a mom talking about him being a failure protecting their children.
Absolutely. And it's absolutely true. I mean, that's what makes these ads so powerful. It's not like this is hyperbole. It's not like it's anything that's made up. It's all been backed up by facts. We see it every day. This is a man who has continued to completely ignore the fact, for example, that Putin has put bounties on the heads of American soldiers. This is someone who has spoken to Putin over a half a dozen times since that's been reported and has yet to even bring it up in conversation. So, of course, this is someone who doesn't care about protecting the troops, and it's someone who doesn't deserve her support. If I had a child in that position, I'd be probably even more angry than she was in that particular ad.
Here's the deal here, Michael. There are some people who say, oh, man, these ads don't mean anything. But here's the deal. There are people who don't watch the evening news, who are not watching the cable networks or the broadcast networks. If you're able to target people with the China ad showing where his products are actually made, and all of a sudden you're hearing him yelling China, 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 that could still be an effective ad. That could pull votes.
Oh, absolutely. And I understand that people say that these things don't work, but I guarantee you, as a former elected official and politician, we wouldn't spend money on ads if they didn't work.
Right,
do work.
Right. I know people say they don't work. So why do they keep
right,
spending?
Maybe they don't work. Maybe they don't work for everybody, but they certainly work for a whole lot of people. And you better believe Cory Gardner is dealing with them. Senator Collins is dealing with them. McSally is dealing with them. And they are under enormous pressure in this ad space because they're showing them walking past microphones, not defending fellow citizens when 45 says something stupid or racist. So they now have to come and pay the piper. And I don't know if they have enough change.
All right, then. Lenny, Avis, Michael, I certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much for joining me on this Monday.
Thank you for having us.
Folks, when we come back real quick, Jim Jones talks about these outdoor workouts. He's turning workouts into a block party. That's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible.
Good. For 10, 9, 8, 7. Let's do it. I need everyone to drop down to a squat right now. Drop it down low. If you can't drop low, just put your hands in the air. Just put your hands good. Halfway there.
Fitness trainer Jim Jones, man, what are you doing running around in a choir robe in the middle of the street?
It's a little something we call Rock the Block, Roland. Where I pull up, I play some music. That was my Sunday service theme right there. Sunrise service. I pull up with a gospel style workout and we get people motivated.
So how long you been doing this?
Oh, man, we've been doing this. So since the pandemic hit hard, right? So we just wanted to give people something to just look forward to, right? Just give them a reason to come out the house and just smile.
And so you roll up and you got people who we're going to this video right here, folks. So you roll up, you got these people who are just on their doorstep, on their porch, in front of the house. And so what's the largest gathering you've had?
Largest gathering we had was about 40 people. So what we do, we pull up to their house, so we keep everyone distant. So that the thing is, we want you to come out on your porch, maybe come out on your front lawn, keep everything spaced out. So we want to create a fun, healthy, safe environment for residents to just come out and, just have a little party. You don't have to work out. If you can't work out, we say just get out there and move, dance to the music. But we just want to get people, get their blood flowing during this pandemic.
One of the things that I was showing us a video the other day of this spin class, same thing. Here's another video we're showing right here. A spin class out of Chicago where they moved it outdoors. And so, your whole deal is you got to get people active and get them moving as opposed to being sedentary, just staying in the house in this COVID world.
For sure. That's the thing. I think the best fight against this COVID is a healthy immune system, right? So we have to get creative about how we're going to strengthen people's immune system, because indoor workouts, people don't feel comfortable doing that yet, rightfully so. I don't either. So We just got to just find a great way to just keep your spirits up, keep your immune system up, and we can fight this thing.
It's interesting. A lot of I was even when you work out, even when you're doing the diet, it's still a matter of how much are you moving. I was Damian Woody, ESPN announcer, former NFL player. He's dropped about 50 or 60, almost 70 pounds, and so we were commenting on DM, and he was saying you got to stay moving, and so it was so funny. He and I were talking, and so got the diet going, working out, but then when I look at my iWatch, I'm still looking at how much time I was under standing for a day. I was under in terms of how many steps I took for a day. So even though I was getting the diet right, and I still was working out, I still was not active like I normally am pre-COVID because you're walking and you're going more places, you're doing more things.
For sure. No, you're 100% right, Roland. It's with everything being slowed down, you really just wait. So the time that you do get active, you have to make sure that you're maximizing that time, right? Because like for myself, the 45 minutes I move a day, a lot of time that's maybe the only 45 minutes you move. You're not running around like you used to. You're not traveling. So you really have to just kind of drill down at what you're doing before. You have to double what you're doing before.
And so, okay, so we hear 10,000 steps a day. I read some study, they said, that's not really effective. Okay, is it? Do you still encourage folks to take 10,000 steps a day?
Yeah, I encourage people to do that in addition to your workout, if that makes sense. So do your 45-minute workout every day, but then do your 10. Then try to get your steps in. Use your steps as kind of a supporting factor for the workout.
All right. So with that, in terms of again, with our workouts and how we should be operating, how we should be moving, for the person who says, all right, man, fine. Where do I start? Just basic. Where do you get them to start?
For sure. We tell people, just get up and move around. So I know, Roland, you're a great dancer in your own mind. So we tell people.
Hold on. Now you know doggone well I can dance. Now let's not even talk about your rhythmless self.
So take you for example, if you like to dance, just turn some music on and dance, right? So just do anything that will start to get you active. I think what you don't want analysis, but you don't want paralysis by analysis. You want to just analyze, what should I do? How should I start? And you do nothing, right? So we tell people, just do something. Get out there, dance, walk, ride a bike. You know what I'm saying? Get out there, do some air squats, do some push-ups, and roll. If you like rolling, you can do that percolator,
You and I talk about this as well, and this is the last question for you. How folks say, I want to lose 30 pounds. Mm-hmm. Every time we've talked, we say, no, my focus is 5, then 5 more, then 5 more. That you minimize it as opposed to trying to come up with this huge number.
For sure. Yeah, bro. It's like anything else in life, right? You got to take steps, right? Now, people have these huge goals. They're like, I got to lose 30 pounds. I have to lose 20 pounds. The doctor said this. I got to fit into this. Just stop all that, right? It's nothing in life. You don't make $1 million overnight, is what I tell people. You got to just kind of break it down and set yourself very small metrics. Small victories turn into huge wins. I tell people, so go 5 pounds, 3 pounds, 6 pounds, 1 pound. At the end of the month, you've lost 15 pounds, right?
All right, Jim. That's it for us. All right, where can people reach you? How can they reach you if they want to do a fitness plan, a meal plan? What's up?
On Instagram at GYMJONEZ. My website is Jim Jones, GYMJONEZ.fit. And you can catch me on Twitter. I'll tweet, Roland. You just retweet it. Everyone, you have a huge following. So
yeah. You desperately need my help. Yeah, you desperately need my help. Yeah, you really, really need my help. Yeah. I mean, your tweet game is awful. Your tweet game is awful.
We all don't have 1 million followers, Roland. We all don't have 1 million followers.
You don't. You have 583. You don't even have 600. Right. So people out there, could y'all go to my iPad, please? If y'all out there, please, could y'all just go to Jim Jones Global, GYMJONEZ Global. Y'all, please, can y'all at least get him to 600? I'm tired of seeing him at 583. So can y'all please get him to 600? And so I would greatly appreciate that. His Twitter handle is GYMJONEZGLOBAL. Please, he has 580. Now he has 584. So one of our people clearly. So if 16 more of you could please join his Twitter page. I promise he's going to tweet more when it comes to exercise and fitness and things along those lines Or if he doesn't, I will cuss him out.
You will do that for sure. You will follow through on that.
Yes, I will. Yes, I will. And if y'all want to provide him with some dance lessons, go right ahead as well. All right, Jim, I got to go.
Sounds good, Roland. Peace, brother.
All right, thanks a bunch. All right, folks, that is it for us. We got to go. Please don't forget, if y'all want to support what we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. We have approaching 11,000 folks who join our fan club. Our goal is to get, of course, 20,000 by the end of the year. So we just got 5 months to do it. We need y'all to join right now. More than 3,000 of y'all, 3,500 of y'all on YouTube right now. Y'all can join right here on YouTube. You don't even have to use anything else. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. If you want to send a money order, please do so to New Vision Media, NU Vision Media Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. Folks, I shall see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget, go to vote.org. Vote.org, where you can check your registration. You can register to vote. You can also request your ballot. We want you to absolutely be ready, be informed, and get yourself ready for the election. You can't vote unless you're registered. Make it happen. Tell a friend, tell a family member, tell a church member. We can be the difference. I'll see y'all tomorrow.